Good morning, everyone, and welcome you all to our AABN's 196th weekly webinar. It's heartwarming to see a happy bunch of participants on a Sunday morning. Welcome to you all for responding to our call and being here. AABN began as a fledgling outfit to connect professionals on a proactive platform to exchange useful information and contacts. Also became an informal avenue to meet and listen to game changers from various domains through these interactive sessions. Thanks to the strong work fundamentals, clear goals, and wonderful camaraderie on which this network was built, we grew in leaps and bounds. Over the past 4+ years, we have been able to put together online programs to keep our AABN community not just engaged, but also meet a range of inspiring people who can help shape your ideas and thoughts. We have all had to make changes over the last few years, and never have we been asked as much as now around change and change management. While we know that change is the only constant, how we manage this and communicate this to our wider team is a skill. Dealing with the unknown is difficult at the best of times. As companies grow and redefine their purpose, we expect changes. When change is thrust upon us, and change could be the make or break for some companies, it can increase the pressure for those that have to lead change. In today's webinar, our distinguished speaker will share his perspectives to deal with these changes and uncertainty, and the techniques to lead your team through the other side and keep them on your side. Alumni relations are an essential part of any university or college mission. They focus on maintaining between the institution and its past students, building a sense of community and fostering alumni engagement. One of the best ways to achieve these goals is by inviting young and energetic alumni to speak in our AABN forum. We are pretty confident he will inspire fellow alumnus and community members. Our distinguished alumni, Mr. Prasanna Jagannathan, belongs to the 2003 batch of chemical engineering, is here to speak under the topic Strategy Planning and Execution in a VUCA World, Adapting to Volatility, Uncertainty, Complexity, and Ambiguity. What makes it even more special is his father is also an alumnus of our campus, and he belongs to the 1970s batch of mechanical engineering. He is going to focus on a topic that can impact the community, business leadership, and career development. I have the pleasant duty of introducing and welcoming Prasanna to this interactive session. PJ is an independent growth and excellence coach, helping organizations to cultivate strategic, operational, and human excellence. He has 21+ years of experience driving strategic, operational, and human excellence across diverse global contexts, startups, scale-ups, pre-IPO, and public enterprise operating in global markets. Has experience working with leaders across SaaS, IT services, life sciences, power and health, and wellness industries. He has put in 800+ hours of formal coaching experience and 5,000+ hours of experience mentoring young professionals. He has worked with more than 50 highly accomplished C-level executives and founders. With over 2 decades of experience across startups and corporates, PJ blends global perspectives with actionable insights to help leaders and organizations thrive. PJ is passionate about cultivating excellence, empowering individuals, and building systems that drive clarity and adaptability. Known for simplifying complex ideas into practical strategies, PJ empowers his clients to show up as their best selves. PJ currently works with organizations in India and the US, helping frontline managers, leaders, and founders cultivate excellence, drive growth, and build resilience, both at personal and organization levels. I wish you all interesting and productive webinar and look forward to a collaboration in the weeks and months to come. Once again, a very warm welcome to you, Prasanna. We are truly privileged to have you deliver this speech today at AABN. Thank you, and over to you, Prasanna.
Thank you, Gopi sir, and appreciate the introduction. And I'm super thrilled to be here today. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time on a Sunday morning to be here. I hope to make your time worthwhile. And for that, it's important that we make it a conversation than a monologue from my side. So I invite you to participate and make the session as engaging as we can, and bring in your perspectives. This is more of a discussion than kind of me giving my thoughts and perspectives alone. So here we go. And thanks for mentioning my father. In fact, there are about more than 6 or 7 members of my family are from Annamalai, starting from even my grandfather. So I think there's like 3 or 4 generations of Annamalai University graduates from my family. So I'm thrilled to be here and in this company. So let me share my screen. One moment. So can anybody confirm my screen is visible?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
visible.
Yes, thank you so much. And I wanted to start with this. This is something that I try to live by, right? Consider it as a disclaimer or a war cry or an appeal. But critical thinking is crucial. So whatever we discuss, we will dissect it, we will analyze it. The only thing that we don't do it is take it by face value, and not just for today. And this is an appeal for living by these words by the great sage poet Thiruvalluvar, right? So I'm not going to go into the details of the Tirukkural. I'm sure that everybody knows it. If you don't, we can we can have a separate conversation about Tirukkural. It probably will take more than this session time to talk about this. But welcome, and with this spirit of critical thinking and analyzing, we'll move to the topic, right? So I'm going to set the stage. So what we will be going over today is a brief introduction about the topic, and we'll spend a little bit of time understanding what VUCA is. And we're going to do something that you probably may not be expecting. We're going to try and reframe VUCA. Okay, I'm not going to tell you how we are going to reframe it. We'll get to that in a bit. And I'm going to also introduce a framework called VALUE, the acronym that stands for Vision, Agility, Learning, Understanding, and Excellence, as the antidote for VUCA, right? And we'll also be looking at the benefits, pitfalls of VUCA and the framework, and also, open the forum for discussion. Doesn't mean we won't be discussing it. We will be discussing the topics as we go along, but we'll also open up for a dedicated Q&A session if that helps. So what are we going to be talking about today, right? So we will try to understand chaos through the lens of VUCA, and we will try to embrace it, right? How we can make use of it, how we can make it work for us. That's the essence of what we're going to be discussing today. Right? Thank you. So we will be looking at how we can adapt our strategies and execution of those strategies to changes, like Gopi sir mentioned at the beginning. And we're going to look at how we can make the change, the VUCA itself, our ally, right? So that's the goal. That's the perspective of this conversation. Welcome you all again. And see, I think the dualities exist in nature, right? I mean, that's how we see the world as. But in the essence, dualities are actually one and the same, right? So chaos and order. We look at how chaos and order can work together. We look at how chaos and order can actually feed one another for a more constructive outcome. So that's the perspective we will take. So order feels safe. So quick question, show of hands, or maybe you can use the chat box to respond. How many of you prefer order? you're someone who prefers stability, who would prefer things to be in a perfect order, changes make you uncomfortable. Just raise your hands or maybe unmute yourself and share your views on that. Okay, I'm seeing some chat responses. Orderliness to some extent, prefer order. Great. So order is great, right? Order is something that as human beings, our mind prefers order. Yeah. But how much order is too much order, right? Is stability quietly killing innovation and growth? If we crave for stability, are we not introducing the need for change or growth? Are we stifling it? Keep these questions in your mind. It's just points to ponder over. Order absolutely is, absolutely comfort zone. Comfort zone, we quickly get into the comfort zone when we crave stability, and we get a little bit rattled, right? When we are pushed out of the comfort zone by external factors. So order is great, but too much order is probably coming in the way of growth and innovation. Hold that thought. And let's go to the other end of the spectrum. How many people thrive in chaos? Anybody who prefers things that are always dynamic and changing, and you thrive in chaos? There are times when I feel, so bored and stagnated, and I crave for some action, right? I can imagine some of you would. We don't prefer, but it brings growth. Yes, absolutely. See, some of us are wired to, prefer comfort and order, and yet there are some of us who actually prefer chaos. We will get bored and feel stagnated when things are the same and not changing, right? Thrill is good sometimes. Exactly. Absolutely. Creativity is required to settle it. Yeah. So chaos, not necessarily is a bad thing, but then where do we draw the line, right? If everything goes chaotic with no control, with no controlling parameters, is there a catastrophe waiting to happen, right? When nothing is bounded, completely unbounded chaos, we have no idea what the outcome will be, as much as it can be interesting for some of us, right? So there are two ends of the spectrum we are looking at. One being the complete stability, right? Which is fundamentally against nature, because the essence of universe is that it is evolving. There is entropy, right? It's always evolving. And on the other hand, our desire to keep stability, which works against this chaos. Chaos is basically, the antidote of stability that kind of goes uncontrollably. Yeah. So these are two ends of the spectrum, but are they really like completely mutually exclusive? Can they not coexist? How about if we are able to bring both together and work together? Yeah, so this is something I find very interesting, right? How many of you are familiar with the concept of yin and yang? Anyone? Yes. Yeah, Arvind says he's familiar. Yeah. So yin and yang is the Chinese metaphor or philosophical symbol, so to speak, right? And what I really like about that is how it brings polarities together, right? You will see that as two parts of a circle, and they both form a single whole, right? But what is really the nuance that I really understand, that I really like about the yin and yang is one carries the seed of the other. The dark carries the seed of the light, and the light carries the seed of the dark, right? So whenever there is too much of one thing, the seed sprouts and it emerges to bring the other into balance. So it's a beautiful metaphor, it's a beautiful visual that basically represents the balance of both forces, right? Okay, repeating the concept of yin and yang. So if you look at the yin and yang symbol, it has typically represented by a circle with one half being black and one half being white. And the black part has a white dot inside, a white circle. And the white part will have a black dot or a black circle. What it essentially means, philosophically speaking, is the dark contains the seed of the light. The light contains the seed of the dark, right? Even though they are opposite forces, one contains the seed of the other. Every beginning has the seed of an ending, right? And every ending has the seed of a new beginning, right? Every order has a seed of a chaos. When it goes to a certain extreme, the chaos takes over. And every chaos has also a seed of the order where the right learnings will bring innovation and growth. So I think that's the essence of, I think, at the risk of sounding a little too philosophical, I think that's the essence of how we live, right? That's the essence of our existence, which is there are opposing forces, but they're also a whole. They're also working in this perfect dynamic harmony, right? Where one contains the seed of the other. Does that explain, Muthu sir? Sorry, Muthu ma'am. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's really the essence of yin and yang, and it's very beautiful. And this is not just a concept exclusive to Chinese philosophy, right? If you look at any ancient philosophical discourse, whether it is Greek or Chinese or Japanese or even our own Indian discourses, the idea of non-dualism is quite common, right? Even German and everywhere. So I think the idea of trying to break away from black and white thinking and try to be comfortable in the gray is the need of the hour, particularly when things are rapidly changing. We want to be able to operate in the fringes, right? So that's the essence of the symbolism here. But I also want to invite you to think of one time where everything ran so smoothly that things got really boring and things got really stagnated in your business, right? Where you get a feeling that nothing is really being created, so to speak, right? There is no innovation. Can you think of those scenarios? Maybe in the last, probably not since COVID, things could have been very dynamic, but quite likely this might have happened before that. But think of that scenario in your mind, right? And also at the same time, think of a time where there was a chaos, right? Particularly COVID is a great example where, had no predictability. We had no idea what was going to come with respect to market dynamics, with respect to customers. And suddenly there is this new breed of, COVID babies and digital natives coming into, the customer base, right? And their buying behavior is very different and how they consume information is different. And suddenly we are left with a lot of confusion and a sense of no control, and sometimes even threatened because we don't know what's coming. So these are completely two different scenarios, but they are perfectly real, right? They happen. And if you can actually imagine both these scenarios, in both the scenarios, you get a sense of discomfort. You feel a little bit restless. You feel, hey, nothing's really moving. Feels like we're all busy, but we're all like a hamster on a wheel, keep running on a treadmill. Nothing's really moving. There is no new innovation. What was the last time we did something new, right? So these are the kind of questions you grapple with. Suddenly, on one day, you have a little time for reflection, and then you think about it, and you feel like, hey, last 5 years have gone by without really doing something new and exciting, and that will make you very restless. And at the same time, you're in the middle of super chaotic environment and you have no time to pause and reflect. And, you crave for some kind of a stability, some kind of predictability. And both of these scenarios give jitters, right? As a founder, as somebody who runs a business, we can't afford to dwell in either of these mindsets, right? I'm going to pause here. I would like to invite what emerges for you. If you can speak up and share, what emerges for you when we talk about these two extreme situations. Maybe share your anecdotes or your own experiences.
Hi, this is Arvind here.
Yeah, hi.
Sometimes it comes up like stagnancy, okay, of thoughts
Mhm.
and stagnancy on the directions how we move forward when things go beyond our control, which is chaotic in order in nature. So at the time, the decision making capacity comes fatigue. That's what we feel sometimes.
Right. Absolutely. Is there any situation or example you can share with us, if that's okay?
Yeah, basically, yeah. During COVID, we don't have any foresight or vision on the business we are running because we were into services. So our completely our business went to a standstill because we are not able to move across the places. So it was chaotic at the time. So we were able to understand how do we move forward and what's next going to happen for the state.
Perfect. And today, Arvind sir, knowing what you know today, if you had to go back, what could you have done differently to be prepared for something like that, a situation like that?
Um, yeah, actually, we need to. Uh, I would say, like, what we learned, the lesson is like be prepared, have plan B, have different other verticals so that your company employees are being taken care, and we do not just rely on one type of business. We have another business going on.
Perfect. So diversifying, mitigating the risks, right? And also, having, plan for different scenarios. Wonderful. Anyone else? Anybody else? Can you share your views? What comes up for
Keep
you?
innovating.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And so what would drive the need for innovation? Unless, something like this happens, how would you, when things are all smooth and great and you're kind of running on an autopilot, how would you trigger, how would you ignite that need for innovation?
Based on the market demands.
Okay, so innovation, you're saying basically we will respond to market or more on a reactive mode, right? So market itself will drive that innovation.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Being
I
proactive.
hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Kandamurthy.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll take you back to 1994, 95. 91 when the Narasimha Rao government came, and then, there was this globalization policy, which otherwise, that was the trigger point for India to move from license Raj to open Raj, so to say. I mean, so
Right.
I was working for an American multinational. I'm under oath not to, disclose the name. I was working for an American multinational, and the issue was that the policy was made at the government level, but the bureaucracy was still not prepared. They didn't know how to handle the situation, and it was still very difficult to get any manufacturing licenses or things like that. And then we found that the market, the adhesive market, especially engineering adhesive market, was an area where we could sort of penetrate. We could penetrate and have good opportunities as the first mover advantage. And then the company then decided, we set up a small group there, of which I was the lead part. And then we worked with the government. We got some legislations passed which were helpful in sort of importing material into the country, repackaging, and then we also did that to get the manufacturing license. So they allowed India to start manufacturing those products because they were, cyanoacrylates and methacrylates, and which were at that point of time. I mean, even today it's dangerous chemicals. And then, India wasn't prepared at that stage to have those chemicals being manufactured. But the good point, what I'm trying to say is we innovated, we brought in imports in bulk because repackaging was allowed at that point of time. So we brought in bulk 200 kilo things, set up a lab, set up packaging division, and then we seeded the market. And by 1997, we built our own plant in Maharashtra. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
That's a
So that's
fantastic
like,
anecdote, sir. One question,
I just
and I would
wanted to
like you
share
to.
with the group because I'm old enough, but for the younger guys,
No, these are
sometimes.
great anecdotes and insights, sir. So one question, if you may share, is so when the government brought about these change, and I still remember the Narasimha Rao, although I was growing up, but it was a great time for us, very exciting times. When that change happened, and bureaucracy was also still grappling, what do you think worked in your favor to be able to respond in the way you responded? You responded quickly, swiftly, to innovate, quickly put together a team, across boundaries of organization, government and other organizations. You were able to innovate quickly. So what do you think was that one or two things that made it possible for you?
See, I think the big thing that we did at that time, of course, this group, but we had we said that we needed someone from the American Chamber of Commerce into the team so that he would be able to guide the bureaucracy properly with how it's done in the Western world. You see, even today, in those days, obviously, but even today, whatever you say, ultimately, what is done in the West is what is aped here. I mean, it's of course coming down now, but you know so one of the things that we did was we had a member from the American Chamber of Commerce in Delhi, and he used to work with the bureaucracy with the team that was setting up those standards and giving his ideas of how it was done in the US, and he had exposure to being in Europe as well. So at that point of time, he was in London and US. So he gave some ideas, and I mean, there was nothing forceful or something. But the other innovative thing that we did was, there were two other places. One was this another company which is now Pidilite, of course. So they were also in that business of importing and repacking. So we got together. We got these two or three people in. There was one company in the south, but of course it's no longer existing. So we got together these three companies. We had a team, one member from each of these, and then we represented as a body. There are two, three players in the thing, and then the government also started realizing that the next level automation, automotive industry required no longer, nuts and bolts and things like that. They needed liquid adhesives because, that's what efficiency was coming in from. They were lightweighting all the automobiles. So, that's how we sort of put forth our point, and Hyundai was coming into the country at that point of time. Hyundai in Chennai was one of the biggest plants coming in. Maruti was there, and Maruti had this Suzuki technology. So, the Suzuki already in Japan was using these adhesives, engineering adhesives for their gasketing and all that. So, that helped. So, but what I mean to say is, it was a teamwork, but we led it. And the best thing was we said that there's no point in trying to be the, single first mover. If there are more players interested, then the government will say, yeah, that is it's not a single monopolistic industry that's trying to, come into this country, but there is demand for it.
Yeah. So the incredible things, a couple of things that comes up for me, sir, is one, your team was basically ready and open to learning and break the assumptions and learn new things. You brought in the person from American Chamber of Commerce. That worked only because you were ready to acquire new skills and learn. So having that learning mindset, right? Number one. Right. Number two is, most importantly, you basically turned competitors into collaborators, and you brought in competitors together, and you collaborated where the entire industry benefited from it, and there was a breakthrough innovation from that. So I think these are very important lessons, crucial lessons that I'm taking away from this anecdote, sir. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that.
No, I mean, ultimately, I mean, of course, I mean, I was just in my 40s at that point of time, but I had I had the regional director of this company, who's a great guy in mergers and acquisitions, and he was telling that competition. I mean, it's first collaboration, and then work on your strengths and your innovative products, and then compete. But there's no point in trying to compete when nothing is there, when it's a barren land. So I mean,
Right.
great learnings for me as well at that stage of my career. But this was something which which was very unique, because it was technical, because a lot of technical presentation went in. It was a lot of commercial. We had to show them that this industry, the automotive industry, will get supported, what sort of advantages and things like that, which came from our parent company in the US. But we shared that with everybody, because it's not that we wanted. So it was like you rightly said, it was innovative, collaborative, and something which there was a lot of learning on the way. Because the
Perfect.
bureaucracy, all said and done, is not stupid, so to say. They understand where you're coming from. They may not understand the technology, but they really understand where you're coming from. Especially in those days when everything was in India was seen with a suspicious eye, so to say. Anything that's coming, whether this is a way of taking back money from the country and whatnot. I mean, that was the biggest challenge that the bureaucracy had, because they felt that all the profits will get. But then we gave the company. I mean, when I say I was a small fry there, but company said they will reinvest back for 5 years at the minimum before they started, so that there was this money which was the bureaucracy felt, at least for 5 to 7 years they want to replow the money back, so the money is not going out of the country. I mean, a lot of challenges. There were a lot of other things, some other time, because now I think otherwise the whole session will go on there. And we can talk about this later in more detail, sure. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I would love to do that. I think there are so many learnings I can see from here, right? Bureaucracy being that balancing factor, making sure that, looking at the big picture, not just one company's profit. I think there's so many learnings in what you just shared, your anecdotes. Thank you. Thank you so much. And definitely we should talk more about it. I'd love to hear more. Anyone else we have anything to share at this moment? Can we move on? But feel free to jump in anytime in the conversation. I mean, it's only as powerful as all our collective experiences. So let's please feel free to jump in at any point in the conversation. Okay, now I want to introduce what VUCA really is, right? So at the essence, it's an acronym basically. Right? VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So what does each of these means? Volatility essentially is basically, refers to the change, a rapid change coming too fast for us to be able to adapt to it. So that's volatility. Stock market, volatile stock market, we keep talking about all the time, right? When it's on a daily basis, if the Sensex is going up and down significantly, like the rate of change being too rapid, and it creates volatility, and the volatility creates a sense of restlessness. It also creates uncertainty, which comes to uncertainty, which is not being able to predict the future. So COVID was one of those classic examples, right? Where we had no idea. This was a brand new experience for the entire world, and it was a global pandemic, and we had no idea what this virus could do. Whether we are going to end up all those zombie movies, the entire world will be there and quarantine zone and all of that, or is it going to be a wave that will go away? Is it manufactured? Is it natural? There's so many questions, and also it affected how we did business, right? We didn't know if our customers would stay in the game. We don't know, if the market will remain the same. Everything changed from physical to digital. Things were remote. That changed how people worked. That changed how people purchased, right? And our own employees, how they contributed, how they worked, how we will collaborate. We have to introduce new systems. There's so much unpredictability in the future, right? And next comes complexity. The complexity is the essence of our universe, right? I mean, we don't live in a black and white universe. There are so many parameters. So all that science has taught us, we need to understand every scientific concept has been proven in controlled environments, right? And the essence of nature is it is not controlled. So we need to understand that we live in a complex world, and there are so many parameters that are interconnected, and how those interconnections play out is something that we don't know, and we need to embrace and accept it, right? Finally, ambiguity, right? Ambiguity is basically, we don't have all the information we need to understand, or also, whether something means one thing or the other. We don't have full clarity, right? If volatility's antidote is stability, right? Uncertainty's antidote is predictability, right? And complexity's antidote is simplicity, and ambiguity will be clarity. Right? So ambiguity is the opposite of clarity. We do not have clarity. We don't understand something with full clarity. There is some confusion, some lack of understanding. So these are the four elements of the VUCA world, right? Things are changing rapidly. Future is not as predictable as we want it to be. Nothing is really linear. Things are very intertwined and interconnected. And we do not have absolute knowledge, so to speak, of anything, right? I don't mean to sound grim, right? That's not the point. The point is, in fact, the opposite. If everything was stable, if everything was predictable, if everything was simple, and if everything was clear, what is the fun? And most of us won't even have a job, right? So the real fun is that embracing this nature of the world, right? The business world, the personal world. This is how the world is. And if we crave for the opposites, fine, but we also need to understand this is the essence of how things are, and we want to be able to accept it. And we can see how we can actually be prepared to deal with it. Yeah. Okay, so a bit of a historical context about VUCA. VUCA is not something very recent, right? It started off in 1985 when these two gentlemen developed the framework, and they talked about it in their book, "The Leaders, the Strategies for Taking Charge." So they talked about change management, and VUCA as a framework was introduced at that time, but it was quiet. And in 1987. In the post-Cold War era, United States Army War College introduces this as an academic requirement, right? So they introduced this to describe the challenges of the world post-Cold War. Yeah. So and they were moving from more predictable plans to more adaptive plans from a military and defense perspectives. And of course, it has evolved so much more since then. But that is when US Army started it. That's when it became, in fact, a lot of major breakthroughs started in US defense, whether it's internet or whether it's email, a lot of things, right? Network. So I think, no surprises here. They kind of made it more relevant. And then in early 90s, mid 90s, there were more publications, more academics started talking about the VUCA method, and as a strategy, as a thought framework for leaders dealing with uncertainties and changes. Okay, and then since 2000 plus is when leaders in corporates and organizations and NGOs and education started adopting it. It became more mainstream, and now it's more of a buzzword, right? You can hear everybody talk about VUCA. So it happened only after 2000, and it became more mainstream now. Yeah. So I want you to think about what is one historical moment. We talked about the post-Cold War in the United States. Skandamurthy sir talked about the globalization. That was a watershed moment for India, right, in the early 90s. And COVID obviously was a massive moment of uncertainty. Can anyone recall any other major historical moment? Of course, world wars, if you go a little bit back in the history. But anything else that you can think of in the recent, maybe last 10, 20 years?
9/11.
Perfect, 9/11. That changed the world. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It changed the world completely and introduced an enemy with no face, war on terror, right? So, that introduced so much in the defense spending and all the industries around it, man. That's insane. Yeah, thank you for bringing it. Anything else?
You look at the defense manufacturing 7-8 years ago in India. There was ambiguity, uncertainty, as well as complexity. But companies like L&T and Bharat Forge took the risk, invested close to 10,000 crore, and today are big winners in the game.
Absolutely.
And today we are a major exporter of defense equipped material. But it was only thanks to all these companies who started work 7 to 10 years ago, taking full risk, knowing that it may just not give any results at all.
Yeah, there was definitely risk, and maybe they had some hypothesis. I wonder, what hypothesis would that be, and what kind of mitigation plans they had taken. It'll be interesting to explore that. But absolutely, yeah, that's a great story where they responded decisively, right, to this to volatility and uncertainty and complexity, and they reaped the benefits.
No, the major change in ambiguity was with all this investments of 6,000 crores, L&T went to the government and said when it came to the lowest tender, as per government rules, they would never make it because somebody else would always quote some ridiculously low price. And they changed the government policy to say that in such cases, they would not go by the lowest tender, but look at manufacturers who invested and who are giving fair prices. And they changed the whole policy system in defense for large procurement.
Fantastic. Wow. Yeah, that's a huge shift.
Yes. Otherwise,
Another important thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you finish.
No, I don't have anything to say.
No, I was just responding to that question. I think the other big event in recent known history is probably the Lehman Brothers crisis in 2008. I think that changed a lot of things.
Absolutely. The subprime mortgage crisis
Yes.
in 2008. That's an insane shift also, right? And part of it, see that kind of cycle happens every 9-10 years in the United States economy. But that particular crisis was something new, was unprecedented. Absolutely, it changed a lot of things.
I do remember the demonetization in 2016.
Perfect. There you go. Yeah, that too, right? Demonetization introduced digital transactions like no other incident did, right? And now there's so much digitization. Every corner shop and petty shop, even the roadside vendors have Google Pay. So that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Demonetization was one such moment. Thank you. I think the world is full of, the more we think about it, there's going to be a lot of such moments of passive uncertainty. And of course, there are some levels of uncertainty that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, whether at home or at workplace. But there are some of these, breakthrough moments of uncertainty that kind of drive innovation. And in most of these circumstances, if you look at, that's the beauty of human ingenuity, right? Most of these massive moments of uncertainty, the world has only become better in some form or the other. We have, as humanity, we have powered through the uncertainty and created something better for ourselves, right? Arguably, in some cases, we can argue whether it is better in the long term or not, but definitely there's some innovation, something new has evolved that has benefited us collectively, right?
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
share one
Well,
thing. Innovation in one area, in nowadays, no, it is like we would not have predicted that mobile phone would be a competitor for a calculator company or a camera company like that. So our competitors always are not in the same area, but from a different
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So exactly, mobile phones. Well, who thought calculators would be gone? Yeah, absolutely. I think those, unless we are able to think outside the box and spot trends early, how can we even predict something like this, right? What Steve Jobs did for the phone industry. He turned phone into a personal assistant. That's insane. Even though there was BlackBerry and Palm, from a technology standpoint, those were available, but how he positioned it in the market was incredible. Sorry, someone else was beginning to speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that GST implementation and audit trail in India has been a great change that India has adopted. So that is one huge indirect tax changes change the whole landscape of Indian business. I feel personally.
Absolutely. I think in terms of tax collection, in terms of simplifying the whole tax regime, I think it brought a lot of change. Benefit, yes, and also the change that it has introduced streamlined a lot of things for businesses. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, please go on.
There is one point I'd like to make, that unlike the times 20 years ago, running the business is important, but changing the way we run the business is as important, and companies need to formally review this every year to take corrective action. Otherwise, it would be another Kodak which collapsed all of a sudden some years ago.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry. I'm not seeing your name. So
Ramesh Subramaniam.
Yeah, thank you, Ramesh, sir. Absolutely, because it just says iPhone. So yeah, thank you so much. Absolutely, you're spot on that. And that's the essence of what we are going to discuss in the rest of the session. So absolutely, yeah, we have to be proactive about this. We cannot wait for VUCA to hit us and then be reactive, right? So we'll move on. So there have been several frameworks for tackling VUCA, right? Scenario planning. Shell, the oil and gas company, they use scenario planning to deal with the oil volatility. When it happened, Google introduced a concept of OKR, which stands for Objectives and Key Results, and they made the whole OKR is basically a strategy planning and execution framework that allows a good degree of flexibility, at the same time kind of anchoring on the vision. So very beautiful framework, very flexible framework, very powerful. And Google has been using OKR from day one, from the time when they were only 3 to 5-member team. They were using, I think it was John Dover, who learned it from Intel, who worked with Google and introduced OKRs for them. Right. He wrote this very fantastic book called Measure What Matters. I would recommend that if that's something that interests you. Balanced scorecard is another framework. It's a standard, kind of organizing and balancing goals across key parameters of financials, customers, operations and growth. And companies are adapting the quadrants and introducing maybe fifth or sixth and changing the quadrants. But essentially, it is taking the broad 4 or 5 key values or key areas and balancing the operations and effort across all the areas. Then VUCA Prime, I think in today's WhatsApp invitation, Gopi sir had mentioned, vision, understanding, clarity, and agility, right? So this was introduced as an antidote for VUCA, right? So these were some of the frameworks that were introduced. Value is not something new. I just made up the acronym. I just introduced a couple of additional elements, right? Vision, absolutely. A stands for agility. L stands for learning. U stands for understanding. E stands for excellence. So this is the framework I want to talk about as we are discussing how we deal with the uncertainties that VUCA brings. Yeah. And these are all frameworks that are available. It's fairly standard. And, if any of these interests you, you can reach out to me offline. I'm happy to help you more, gaining more deeper understanding or even apply. Google or any AI tool will also be able to provide more information on this. These are standard, and quite likely, you might be using some of these frameworks already also, right? And is there, before you move on, is there, is anybody using any of these frameworks? That's a question. Maybe it's a good time to pause and check in. For your business.
Yes, scenario planning and balance scorecard.
Perfect. Okay. Anybody uses OKRs? No. Okay. OKRs is relatively newer compared to scenario planning and balance scorecard. Yeah.
So we
Someone...
here, we use OKRs, and in fact, even individual employee has to set OKRs.
Wonderful. Fantastic. And can you briefly describe your business, sir, so that we understand the context also?
Yeah, software development.
Software development. Okay, perfect. Yeah. I think more IT related industries have adopted OKRs more comparatively more than other industries, but it's very powerful. And do you find it working well for you?
No, actually, I mean, it's all there, but we say year beginning, it's all people push to, set the goals and stuff like that, but don't religiously follow it. That I'm just practically saying it, but any policies you need to enforce it and then follow up. Otherwise, there is no value. So it is there, but I don't know whether it is yielding any outcome.
See, I feel you completely, and I have tried to implement OKRs at least 3 companies of different sizes and stages. Every single time, it has not worked the first time, right? And I've tried multiple approaches to that also, right? Either slicing horizontally, vertically, all of that, but there are some nuances to that, right? I believe there are some behavioral aspects that need to be introduced non-negotiably. The last company, in fact, when I was at Freshworks, I used to tell the founder, right, unless the CEO runs their meetings keeping the OKR open in the screen, the company will never adopt it. The CEO and the CEO's direct reports in their management meeting has to be run with OKRs. That's the only way. If there is no other way that can be adopted, right? So, and he used to tell me, say, dude, I like doing work. I don't like doing work about work, right? Very eloquently put. But I'm not sure I would agree with that. But essentially, it has to start from the top. The behavior has to start from the top. That's the only way. And also, must be some non-negotiables, right? Even the behavior change will require some adjusting to do, but it is possible. But thanks for sharing. Thanks for being candid about it also. I think It is not easy. As simple as the framework appears to be, the implementation is not easy. There are a lot of nuances and layers around that. Thank you. Let's move on. Okay, so now question, can anybody recognize what the crop is in the background? Anyone? Any guesses?
Arugambul.
No, not Arugambul. Fairly, I don't know, probably close. It's fairly close. It's not Arugambul though. It's a legume. No, not narcotic. No. Okay, let me share. This is called sun hemp. If any of you is into farming, the local Tamil name Sanappe சொல்லுவாங்க. I mean, the original name is sun hemp, and it kind of Maruvi, it became Sanappai. But it's native to India only. It's a very invasive weed. Very invasive weed. It can ruin crops. Okay, but it has amazing nitrogen fixation properties. Okay,
They used to
so
plant this after
exactly,
after a season of
between
planting.
seasons. So
Yeah.
exactly, absolutely, yeah. So because it has very strong nitrogen fixation property in the soil, so we plant it and we plow it before it flowers. So once it flowers, the property will go out, right? So just before the flowering, or just about when the flowering starts, we will basically mix it up, plow it, and mix it up with the soil, and that enriches the soil a lot, right, with nitrogen. So we do that before and after, basically between crop cycles, right? Whether it is a paddy or any other crop. So yes, exactly. What did we do? This is such an invasive weed, and as a farmer, you wouldn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. But then we have been so ingenious, so creative. We figured out a way to use it to our advantage, right? We were able to take it, we were able to use it, plow it, and then kind of use it to make our own soil more enriched, and then kind of use, do our own cropping. So I think that's the essence that I'm trying to bring, right? Instead of fleeing or fighting VUCA, what if we deliberately invited in and made it our ally? Okay. I want to take a pause and want to let everybody reflect on this question. How do we create a deliberate disruption? How do we inject a dose of VUCA? And this goes back to what we just talked about, right? Where we have to be prepared, we have to be proactive about these things. So take a moment to reflect on it, right? How do we create value out of VUCA? Right? How do we create that deliberate disruption? Yeah. So now I want to introduce the value framework, right? Value stands for vision, agility, learning, understanding, and excellence. So what is really the vision? Vision basically is being able to see beyond the obvious, being able to see beyond our line of sight. So generally, anything that what is the difference between goal and a vision, right? A goal is something that you define, a future state, which is within your line of sight. You will not have a goal for 5 years. Maybe you will, but essentially, as long as you are able to see a line of sight and create a plan towards that, then it's a goal. A vision is something much bigger, right? You go beyond your line of sight. You go beyond the obvious. So that is going to kind of anchor you. That's going to give you a direction. Yeah. So you have to create that North Star, whatever that vision is in that at that moment, right? If your vision is to become number one in the industry, absolutely no doubt, nothing wrong about that, or creating being ruling the market, right? Getting 80% market share, whatever, right? So that vision is very critical, and coming up with that vision is super important, right? The vision that inspires, vision that resonates with everybody in the organization, and being able to communicate that vision with clarity, and with being able to articulate it with clarity. That is very, very important, and that is going to help us in times of uncertainty also, right? And the way the vision is crafted also, right? And somebody just mentioned about, Arvind, I think, mentioned about diversifying, right? If our vision is very narrow, right, and that we are letting that narrow vision guide us, then we will not be able to see beyond that. And if the vision is too broad, right, we will be all over the place. So it is very important to balance flexibility and being ambitious, right? Aspirational flexibility. Everything needs to be balanced and be able to achievable also, right? So it is a science and an art in creating and crafting what that vision is. The second thing here is agility. We need to be agile, right? We want to be able to swiftly change and pivot. Operationally speaking, agility refers to how we operate, how we do things, right? So we cannot create processes and frameworks and execution frameworks that kind of imprison us, right? There needs to be some level of flexibility, and we need to introduce flexibility if the process seems very rigid, right? Third thing is learning, right? Constantly, and we talked about we recently talked about that anecdote, right, where the American Chamber of Commerce person came in and helped. And also the collaborative innovation among competitors. This is a beautiful, right? The essence is being very shameless about learning, right? We cannot let sense of entitlement or ego or pride come in the way of learning, right? So we need to be able to, we must be shameless when it comes to learning and be able to extract all the information. It is in our best interest to not kind of restrict any learning, right? So that is the learning part. And then there is understanding, which is building clarity. And what is the difference between learning and understanding? It's very nuanced. So learning is gaining knowledge, okay? And understanding is building clarity around that knowledge. And why will there be a gap between this? Okay, understanding creates wisdom and insight, right? Clarity comes from wisdom and insight, and more often than not, the gap between learning and understanding is our own mindset, right? If the company's employees are constantly under micromanagement, and if they are heavily scrutinized, if there is no sense of psychological safety, they don't feel safe to experiment and fail, if there is no room for failure and mistakes and learning, imagine whether that would build clarity or whether that will kind of keep them in a constant sense of fear and protection and self-preservation, right? So most of the times the enemy of understanding is our own mindset, and cultivating critical thinking, right? People, we are always usually driven by our own biases. There are a lot of logical fallacies that is sought to. So all of these are enemies of understanding. Yeah. So learning and understanding are different in that sense. And then finally, excellence is basically having that mindset of showing up as our best self every time, right? We want to give our best, and cultivating that sense of showing up as the best in every employee in the organization, right? Cultivating the culture of excellence, right? Most of the times we are facing a sense of indifference, right? They show up, they just do bare minimum what is required, right? And as difficult it may sound, you have the power to change it as the owner, as the founder, as the leader in the company, right? If the employees are behaving a certain way, it is a reflection of what you have or what you have not done, right? So I think it is very critical to drive the culture of excellence within the organization. So how each of these aspects, having vision, being able to pivot rapidly and extracting insights and learning shamelessly, cultivating clarity and excellence, how they can help fight or deal with VUCA, we will see next. But before that, I want to take a pause here and I want to hear your thoughts on what each of these aspects of the value framework mean for you. What comes up for you?
With the AI advancing in this world, will there be scope for humans to evolve using this value framework?
Can you double click on that question? How do you think AI will come in the way?
Actually, all monotonous and repetitive jobs are being replaced with AI.
Mm-hmm.
So human intervention is already coming out.
Correct.
So human intervention is not there. So if humans are involving in the job, then that creativity will come out. So
Yeah.
in that way, I thought like humans are moved out of this world.
Yeah, no, I think perfect. I think thank you so much for bringing up AI. We talked about a lot of disruptions, but the introduction of large language models, LLMs, and artificial intelligence, particularly after ChatGPT, has changed the world enormously. Right? You're right. I think it has. The human, the need for human intervention at workplace has moved up the value chain. Okay, that is really what has happened. It has not really eliminated human intervention, right? For example, this forces human beings to the human employees and human resources to basically upskill, do things that the machine can't do. Earlier there used to be a lot of jobs for writing, okay, creative writing and copywriting, website content writing, and all of that. That is gone completely, right? At least it is gone for those who were mediocre writers. Okay, unless you are an exceptional writer, you write in a way that the AI cannot, which there are still people who can do that, and that's when that's how the AI has forced us to upskill and level up our game. And certain areas, it actually becomes a force multiplier, right? I use AI significantly, right? I've been a power user of ChatGPT for since the time it launched. Okay, and it basically makes my workflows 10x faster and 10x more effective. But can it replace me? No, not yet. Right? It probably has replaced 2 or 3 interns. If it was not there, I would have had to hire 3 or 4 interns to do that work for me, right? But it has not replaced me, at least not yet. So the real the situation here, and thanks for bringing it up. The situation here is that AI doesn't replace humans. It forces us to think differently how we contribute to things, right? Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
who was
To
that? It
some
was Vikram.
extent,
Yeah.
I'm myself Vikram.
Yeah.
To some extent, you are in line with the industry how it is operating, but generative AI is slowly, replacing this learning capabilities of humans. So it is a bit of a drawback, I would see. for
No, it
humans?
is dangerous. It is dangerous. The deep fakes and generative AI, very particularly, you can't say what is real, what is AI. It is getting to that point. I mean, even though it's not there yet. Text-based generative AI is one, and there are other complex, creative, visuals that AI is able to generate, which definitely is a risk, and that's why there's a lot of talk about responsible AI and all of that. And where does creativity go? See, at the end of the day, right? There is, and as of now, there is no computer that can replace human brain, in terms of processing power, in terms of creativity and all of that, right? So I think there is still scope and hope for human ingenuity. The only thing is that we can no longer be lazy. We're going to have to step up and do the work.
Yeah, I
Right?
agree with
Use
this.
our brains. That's the only thing. We cannot be complacent. We have an insane competitor of our own creation now with the Gen AI. So we're going to have to level up our games.
Yeah, I agree with this. But India being 80% unorganized workers, so it's a threat that AI is bringing into this India. So a lot of big companies, CEOs, they think that AI will give the answer. Why should I go to a layman and get the answer? So they are too much of an imaginative mindset that AI will be helpful for them, and they are just demotivating the lower cadre people. So even they are capable.
See, part of
It's
it,
kind of
Vikram,
observation. I'm just
no,
not
absolutely,
trying to...
you're right. In fact, I have worked with young professionals in fitness space, okay, and IT space, and as much as I've worked with founders and senior leaders, and these young professionals come from very humble backgrounds, tier 2 towns, or maybe some of them not even like finished a college degree, right? So my what I tell them, and they have learned how to use ChatGPT to reply to emails and all of that. And one nuance there, and this will shift the mindset a little bit, right? So we are worried AI will replace our skills. Okay, what if we use AI to upskill ourselves, right? So I keep telling them, don't use AI as your assistant, use AI as your coach, right? Learn to speak better English or better language, right? Learn to write better. Instead of having AI to do the work for you, let AI teach you. And I think that will sharpen the skills. And we can always combine multiple skills and be able to bring value. And, I don't think AI can replace that human ingenuity. AI cannot replace human connection. AI can be a force multiplier. It can rapidly drive innovation. And I'm saying all this only if we understand that we need to do the work and we need to think outside the box as humans. If we are still within the box and kind of sulking that AI is stealing my job, then that's what we'll fall victim to, right? But I agree, there is a threat, and threat is good, right? Threat is good, and that's what will drive that, force that innovation, force people to learn new skills.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this input.
Yeah, I just want to contribute one thing for the similar topic that we are discussing. Can I?
Yeah, absolutely, please.
Okay. So couple of days back, I went for a client meeting. It was one critical meeting where we had a problem in the software logic in terms of how to handle COGS based accounting, COGS based accounting. It is, I just would like to take, 10-15 seconds to explain. It's about accounting method, which has to happen as per US GAAP accounting. So all the material transactions are being accounted into the financial accounting. So as a result of it, the company is able to see the P&L and balance sheet at any point of time. Okay, this is a very brief outline, right? So now the whole team who sat and discussed, there were two, very senior chartered accountants. And when we have been talking about how the accounting principles has to be applied. No, there was a huge dispute, and we have been talking for about 20-25 minutes on that. We have been debating about it for 25 minutes. And finally, we just went to ChatGPT and said that please give the accounting principles of COGS based accounting for a manufacturing organization. You won't believe within 10 seconds, it just gave the entire accounting entry, entire principles, accounting entry, and what exactly has to be done. And the whole room was just, shut to rest.
Wow.
So I'm just saying,
Yeah.
today we need to know how to utilize it. And, like my other, member was saying, if you think it is a
Threat.
risk, it's a threat, the answer is absolutely yes. And as you rightly said, if you think it is a coach, it is absolutely yes. Okay. It purely depends on where you have crossed in the whole value chain, right? So it is purely a introspecting question for us. And definitely, as he was saying, that is a real concern. People, as you rightly use the word, people who are mediocres at all point of time, there is no mercy from the nature, right? Nature has not shown any mercy for Kodak and Nokia. So the only question is, are we Kodak and Nokia, or are we a smartphone? That's a question that we have to answer.
Absolutely, very, very eloquently put. Thank you so much. We're going to have to, Darwinism, as much brutal as it seems, there is some truth to it, right?
100%.
Yeah, I agree with the answers.
Yeah, thank you, Vikram and Vijay. Appreciate it. That's a very, very interesting point. We're going to have to adapt. We're going to have to make use of it, right? To our own growth. See, one more thing that I've been thinking about, I've been reflecting regularly on is what's going to happen. See, we're not, human resources is not going to be doomed because of AI. But it's also interesting to see how the shift is going to be, what is going to happen, and that is a huge shift that's coming. It's another, VUCA, environment that is brewing, right? It is currently only within the tech industry, but very quickly it is going to seep into all the other industries. And then what is really going to happen then, right? For the human resources, for the employees. So it is very important to build a sense of ingenuity, a sense of excellence, creativity and craftsmanship. So these are all, qualities that requires for a human to make use of AI and be able to upskill and contribute, right? Adapt. If the workforce is kind of being boxed into, hey, this is your day job, these are your responsibilities, do it day in and day out, run the whole thing like a shop floor, then it will hit like a hammer coming down really hard, right? So it is very important to inject the other qualities of adaptability, not just at the leadership level, but also at the frontline level, right? It is very important, and that's something I want to place here for everybody.
And then PJ, just a minute, I want to add one more scenario which I read long ago, because those days, that point of time, ChatGPT was fairly new, about 2.5 years back, 2 years back or so. So I was not really using. So I read one article that how a small SMB business owner could able to collect his outstanding due from a large corporation. Okay. What this man did, it's a small SMB owner. He couldn't even able to, appoint a lawyer, and, he can't go fight with them. That was a scenario. So what this guy did, he just went to the ChatGPT and requested to draft a legal mail, legal draft, that the payment is outstanding. What is the recourse available for him under the framework of law? And he said, can you just give me a draft? Okay. So ChatGPT gave a beautiful draft, by picking up all this data. He simply sent a very polite mail to the, company by saying that, hey, I'm really struggling. You have been one of my best customer, but still, I'm unable to collect the money. but if the money is not paid before so and so date, I don't have any other option other than taking this course, what has been suggested in this letter as given by my attorney. Okay.
Wow.
I really didn't want to do. So he just sent within 3 days, he got that money realized. And he is also
Wow.
continued to do business with them. Now, what is that guy did the next one? He once again requested ChatGPT, hey, can you just give me a contract draft that I have to sign with the large companies before I could do business so that I don't land in this similar situation. So there were 2 threads he has written. He said, this 2 moments has changed my entire business. So that was the time I started using ChatGPT because I didn't know everyone was talking about it. I thought, it was something different, but it is really there to help, small people, very humble people. And it is, as you rightly said, it's a real companion actually. Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. It's a force multiplier, man. I think, I've been using it since it was launched, and even you won't believe, I do my annual reflection because there's a lot of conversation I have, chat conversation in the sense the interaction. I don't use ChatGPT as my friend. It's not come down to that yet, but I'm able to extract insights about me. Right. One of the prompts that I do is, okay, based on all our interaction, can you give me what my strengths, weaknesses, blah, blah, right? And give me a 360 feedback. And the kind of insights that I get from that is incredible. So I think there is so much potential. And if we understand how to use these disruptive technologies or any disruption for that matter to our advantage, I think it is in our best interest.
Absolutely. It's a double-sided sword. So how we use it is what makes a difference. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I fully agree.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Cool. So as we are talking about implementing this framework, right? And the essence of the framework is to be able to pivot, is be able to turn, be able to shift rapidly. But there has to be something that anchors, right? Even a pivot needs to have a stable base so that the pivoting can be done smoothly, right? What should be that stable base? Okay. What I'm recommending here is that your anchor, your stable base must be your core values, not the vision, the values, right? What really matters, the uncompromising set of values. And it is very important that your values are worthy of that anchor, right? And your values become an enabler more than a limiting factor. So I've given some set of values here randomly. Like, for example, as an organization, I want to drive a behavior of excellence, behavior of quality, right? And I want respect to be a core value, teamwork. Now, I don't want people to compete. I want to look at their teammates as competitors, but they have to be collaborators, right? I want to drive culture of innovation. So these are some of the behavioral values are essentially what as a company collectively we think is very important for us, right? In terms of set of behaviors and beliefs. So these are some of the values. And then the reason why I'm saying values need to be the anchor is if, everything else can change, right? Your vision also can change if the world shifts fundamentally, okay? But values cannot change. And it has to be crafted in a way that they anchor you and ground you. Yeah. So I'm going to take a pause here, and I want to invite you to participate, you to share what you consider as your core values, both personally and also as an organization. What values do you promote and make sure that it is non-compromising, and you anchor the entire organization's behavior with those values? Can you share some of them?
PJ, can I add?
Yeah, please. Absolutely.
So, see, just to give a context, we are a 28-year-old ERP product company. So, in the initial, 8 years of lifetime, and we have kept as a, customer-centric organization.
Right.
So that was the initial journey. And it was always, being a product company and also being customer-centric there were a lot of, differences which we have been turmoil, which we have been going through, which we couldn't able to settle it correctly, right? And after 8 years of existence, when we sit and introspected, we said, okay, when we are making a product, are we not supposed to assume the feature requirement, a customer pain point, much before the customer could ask? So that was one paradigm shift which came to the organization, and we decided we have removed that customer-centric word and we said we are going to be employee-centric organization. So in the sense, when we say employee-centric organization, it is not customer is not important. Customer is really important, and they are going to be there in the backdrop of the value that we are going to provide for them, right? So that is where we have gone through, several examples of, let's say a hotel, like a Taj Mahal hotel or a Gujarati Thali, or, someone who is just serving, good food. They are not asking the customer, what do you want? They have already understood the customer's requirement, and it is being served when they come and sit there at that time. So they say, breakfast is available only till 11. Lunch is available till 11 to 4. Tiffin is available from 4 o'clock. When the customer says at 4:15, can I have lunch? They say no, right? So all I am saying
Absolutely.
is, so which means we are not here, going to drive the organization based on one customer requirement. We decided, how are we going to satisfactorily serve 80% of the customer without friction, right? That is where we made the change. And rest of all the things has fallen in place. So always there are going to be customers who are going to be dissatisfied. That 20% customers will always be there. We have applied the 80-20 rule, and we said, how are we going to satisfy the 80% of the people so that we are able to create a solid business model? So that pivot has really helped for us. Yeah.
No, fantastic. I think it's a great example. You build for the market. You don't build for one customer, right?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic example, and how you have shifted the value, right? And you've introspected and seen at that value change. And once you anchor that value, all the decisions that you make, all the plans that you make, and how you execute, how much time everybody spends, and on what, everything kind of it gets aligned, right?
Correct.
To that value. And that's why I'm saying anchor on the values, whatever that is. Your value may be different from someone else's, which is totally fine. But as long as you know and you're honest about those values and you anchor everything around those values, it makes everything kind of, very stable, it makes everything aligned and fall in place. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Anyone else? Can you share your experience with, your values?
Yeah, for us, I'm audible.
Yes, please go on.
For me as a person, I think accountability is my core value, and I always stand on that, my words or something like that. Then as an organization, what we have is the benefit what our client get out of our program should be greater than the profit what we enjoy out of the transaction. We always stick to this.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think, value, focusing on value than profit, right? Profit becomes an incidental outcome. It is important, but it will happen. Byproduct, exactly.
I worked for Tata's for many years, and they were one of the first companies in India to have a written code of conduct.
Wow.
Many companies have verbal and uncertain code of conduct, but they had one of the first people to have a written code of conduct, and that became one of the core values of the company. Those who could not adhere to the code of conduct were not suitable for the company.
No, that's fantastic. I think I didn't know Tata was the first to bring about a formal culture code or code of conduct, formal document. And one such breakthrough document was created by Netflix. Okay. It was called Netflix Culture Code or Culture Document. You can look it up. It's one of the breakthrough documents ever created in the technology world, right? In Silicon Valley. And then that was so popular and so inspiring for companies. A lot of companies kind of took a lot of from that and even imitated some of that. You know what Netflix did? Netflix threw everything out the window and rebuilt the whole culture code again. Okay, it's a fantastic company. I'm telling you, Netflix. There is a reason why they do what they do. And there is one more thing about Netflix I'll share a little bit later. But they are constantly questioning themselves, right? They are constantly creating an environment for questioning assumptions, challenging their own assumptions, and challenging their own work, even if it is the best work they have done in the industry. The Netflix culture code is considered to be the top, and it was considered as once in a lifetime document. From that point to they get to a point where they say, no, we are past this. This is not going to work anymore. They throw it out. They fire that head of HR who co-authored the original document along with the CEO, because times have changed and it's not going to be, we can't operate the same way. Then they brought in a new head of people and they rewritten. So the first book is called Powerful. I think it's called Powerful by Patty McCord, who was the first head of HR. And then the revised culture code, I think it is written in a book called No Rules. Both the books are very, very powerful, inspiring read. But it's very inspiring to see a company like Netflix. See, they are number one. They are on the top, even from a technology standpoint and the production values, quality. Not even the next company, even Amazon Prime is a distant second, right? But still, they find the need to question themselves and re-innovate and reinvent proactively, regularly, right? So that's a great lesson we should be taking. And they find why values, they call it culture code, but values, culture code, code of conduct, same difference, right? So these are very important. And most of us, even I've seen companies like, excuse me, Infosys and Cognizant and all of that, they have this culture code, but these are, most of companies treat this culture code as a fancy document, but doesn't go beyond that, right? It has to, but culture code and this set of values must reflect in every day what every team member, every single employee does on every single day. And that comes only from top down. Again, the CEO of the company has to own the behavior, own the culture code, own the culture of the organization. It cannot be the head of HR, it cannot be the managers, right? It has to be coming from the top, owning the culture of the organization, driving those values, being uncompromising about it, making decisions that reflect why these are important, right? If the CEO is making compromises, then it becomes acceptable. Then everyone will start doing. So essentially, I think, anchoring on core values is crucial. And that will give the stability for you to be able to turn and pivot.
PJ, bit a quick question in this area. When you really use the word, Netflix and one HR created a super duper core value document which has worked for some time period, and they really wanted to shelve it and go for a new. You just said that the HR guy got fired and the new guy got in.
Yeah. Yes.
This is always some conflict which keeps running in my mind. That with the star performer at a point of time, he becomes an asset of the organization. He becomes a liability at a point of time. So does it mean that this firing people on the context of the current changed business scenario where people are complacent, they are not able to change themselves? Do we have to resort to this firing? So is it one part of it? Also has to be part of an organization culture by saying that, hey, this parameter, somebody is actually brittle, we can't move beyond this point along with them, or we have to get rid of them at this point of time. So what is your thoughts on this?
Thank you for asking that question. It's very, very profound. I believe that an organization exists for a reason, and particularly when it is a for-profit company, right? The organization is not it does not exist for charity. It does not. It is not a skill development unless it is a skill development company, right? It exists to make profit at the essence, at the core of it, right? And good organizations do that along with creating other impact, right? For example, providing for employees' growth, and learning and all of that, right? So if agility and growth is a core value, right? And if an employee is not able to meet that core value, it is in the best interest of both the company and the employee to separate. Right? I don't see a moral issue in letting an employee go when they are not fitting, right? When they don't fit. Even though, the employee company fit is not set in stone. It can change over a period of time. Like you exactly said, somebody might have contributed significantly in the early years, but the company is morphing, it is changing. What brought you here will not get you there. Right? You need a new set of skills. And if the workforce is not prepared to acquire those set of skills, you're going to have to change the workforce. Give them an opportunity. This is what I would do. Give them an opportunity, have an honest conversation that, hey, you got us here, thank you very much, but this is where we are, and the game is now different. Are you ready to take up the challenge? Right? If you're not, thank you very much, and I value what you have done. I think it is best for you to find some place that aligns with how you do the work, right? So I think communicating that and having that conversation in a compassionate way is possible, but fearing having the conversation, a conflict or difficult conversation, keeping people who are not really contributing and changing with times is not good for the company, and it's not good for people who actually do the work. It will bring them down also.
Correct.
Yeah. Does that
But
answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Another quick follow-up question. How many industry heads of the SMB segment are emotionally and capable of and willing to do this is what just want to understand. Probably some team members can
very less. In fact, see, I'm saying it's easy to say what I'm saying, Vijay, okay, but leaders are human beings also. Okay. I know highly accomplished founders, and I'm not going to bring up names, who struggle having these kind of conversations. Okay, because these are people who have been with you from day one and who have traveled all the ups and lows with you, right? But that doesn't mean you are indebted to them. See, part of it is also the company is your responsibility. The people are not your responsibility. See, so it requires extreme levels of clarity. What comes in the way of clarity, as I mentioned earlier, is the emotional aspects, right? You may have a personal value of not being very grateful for people who helped you, okay? And your personal value will, in the early stages, they might have compromised on their salaries. They said, I'll take half salary and work for you, right? And then now you feel like, you're being ungrateful by letting them go. Okay. Now your personal value is conflicting with your what needs to be done for the company. So I think when these kind of polarities exist, you really need to go deep and really resolve the conflict, right? I recommend working with a coach who will help you resolve these conflicts. If you find it difficult to actually resolve it on your own, and a lot of founders, lot of leaders do that, and most of my clients face this issue, right? Because leadership is very lonely at the top. Okay, nobody will understand what you really go through. Okay. And you cannot show up too vulnerable and too weak also. I mean, vulnerability is great, but this kind of balance that you have to strike. You need to be decisive, but at the same time, you cannot show that you were unclear about your decision, right? So it is important, but to answer your question, yes, it is not easy to anybody. And I have let go of employees several times, and every single time it is a difficult conversation. It never gets easier.
Absolutely.
But what has to be done has to be done.
Yeah. Thanks, PJ, for clearly demarcating two aspects. One, the personal emotion, and second, what the company wants at this point of time. Okay. If these two things are clearly separated, and the decision making will become fairly easier, or probably it won't be all complicated. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for asking that question, because it's very, very important, right? One is the defining the problem and segregating it.
Correct.
Second, part two is making the decision.
Correct.
Part three is implementing the decision. All three
Absolutely.
involves emotions, and all three involves
Complexity.
you know, complexity and ambiguity when it comes to human relationship. But yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Anything else?
I have one question.
Yeah.
See, many companies are talking about innovation today, but there's no clear definition of innovation for a company. Many trivial improvements are now considered as an innovation, and they get passed on and the managements accept it. But that is not anything great. And the company says they have got 10 innovations, but they have really not progressed to that level, either in terms of profitability or turnover and other results. So is there any way to have a metric to define innovation?
It's tricky, sir, because you know, only see if it's hard to draw the line, right? For example, some companies may think that if it is in the existing line of business, okay, making incremental improvements, it doesn't, you know, any breakthrough that introduces a new line of business, or you know, introducing a new category, right, or you know, bringing in new set of demographics or new, you know, customer segment, you know, those are probably, you know, parameters or metrics that can indicate innovation. For some companies, it could be even, so it depends on the size of the company also, right? And the spread of the offerings that they do. So
I
there is,
understand, but then like the code of conduct, is it not important for a company, given its business, to put down a written document on what is innovation in that company?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I haven't thought about it that way yet, but you know, what you're saying is absolutely right. I think it will go a long way, because particularly when a company values innovation, like looks at innovation as a core value, it is important to tell everybody what it really means, right?
Yes.
Just like, well, you know, saying what respect really means.
Yeah,
Right?
correct.
Respect doesn't mean standing up when an older guy shows up. Respect really means you care, right? So I think that's you know, defining what each of these words mean in a way that it can be clearly understood and measured is important. I agree with you 100%.
For example, 3M is one company that I feel has a lot of clarity on what is innovation in their company, but I don't know if they have a written document. But they are really, they kill a lot of their products only to push innovation, and they have clear guidelines about this. But I don't know if they have a written document.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it is something that every company should start doing along with the culture code. In fact, if innovation is one of the core values, each of the core values need to be expanded in a way that it is clearly understood and with no ambiguity what it really means, including innovation and you know, quality or whatever the core value is. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to do a quick time check. Gopi sir, I know we are running over, but we're having a good conversation. Can we continue?
Yes, yes, please go on. Please go on.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. And thanks everyone for hanging in here. I know we are going over time, but you know, we're all having good conversation here. So I'll try to power through the next few slides. I think what we have discussed so far by itself has gained we've gained a lot of insights. So I'll power through some of these things. The toolkit items that I have mentioned here, I will send, you know, maybe in the next you know, few days, I will send templates. I'll share it with you, Gopi sir, and if we can pass it on to everybody, that people can use this. There will be artifacts that you can use to, you know, for example, the empathy maps or surveys or the framework documents that you could use. If you already have it and if you're already using it, please ignore. If it is something new and you find it valuable, feel free to use that. I will share it with you after the fact as a leave behind material. Now, so this slide I want to spend some time how we take the value framework and apply. Okay, when an uncertainty hits, right, you can do all of this. Okay, but what I want to do is imagine you are introducing VUCA, right? You are introducing change. For example, in the mid-cycle, you change a supplier. Okay, the supplier is going well, he's doing good, he's just meeting all the requirements, and everything is gloriously predictable and with no change. At the same time, no improvement also. Okay, you decide to you deliberately, in a controlled way, introduce a change. Change a supplier, introduce a new process, right? And you do that guided by your vision. If your vision is to be most innovative company in the industry, right? And clearly, you want suppliers who align with the vision, who are able to bring innovation to the supply chain, right? And when you change the supplier, what happens? Let's just go a little deeper. You will evaluate who the alternatives are, right? And while you do that, you will come to know of new players in the market who are able to bring new capabilities in the supply chain, and that will inspire maybe some changes in your own product lines, right? Some innovation in your own product lines that will inspire making tweaks to your operations, right? So just making that one change and going about it in a very deep and profound way, and being excellent about executing that change, you can actually bring about a substantial shift in across several aspects of your organization. How people think, how you execute, right? How people collaborate and all of that. Sorry, someone wants to say something? No, okay. So the point I'm trying to make is have the deliberate disruption, make deliberate changes. And when you keep doing this periodically, right, you are able to, as an organization, you are building in flexibility. Yeah, you're creating an inbuilt flexibility, right? You are, you introduce changes in operations, right? You say, you'll basically create a new prototype every quarter. That's it. Create or maybe every month, depending on the nature of your business, right? Rapid experimentation. Create hypothesis and test hypothesis rapidly, right? Have sprints to push out prototypes or new features, right? These are all agility when it comes to operations, right? When it comes to going back to the vision again, so why are we making this change, right? Have OKRs, a certain percentage of your OKRs or your goals, just to kind of shake things up, rattle the cage a little bit, right? Create a more than a static equilibrium, create a dynamic equilibrium, create a harmony that actually, is not afraid of change, is able to absorb change, right? The third thing is about learning, right? Constantly have, I recently wrote a post on my LinkedIn, inviting people to have a slay day, right? A slay day. Basically, you bring together the bright minds in your organization, irrespective of the job level or their role. Get in a room, just question everything that you know. Question everything that you know to be true. What if this is wrong? What if this assumption is not right? Right? What if this doesn't work? What if our strategy is fundamentally flawed? Right? Question that, and you'll be amazed. What kind of insights emerge out of it. Right? Nothing should be off the table, except, of course, no room for personal insults. But then question everything ruthlessly, and then do it once a quarter or once in twice a year or something. And that's going to create new learning and new perspectives and amazing, innovation and growth will come out of that. And when it comes to understanding, again, communicate, need to be clarity in communication, right? We talked about how to communicate, have difficult conversations and conflicting conversations. As long as there is clarity and every employee knows their reason for them existing in the company. Okay, it is not for them to come show up and draw the salary and do the tasks, right? It needs to be a little bit deeper. There needs to be a sense of purpose for everybody. The reason why the company exists, the reason why the employee exists in the company, right? And what are the conditions where the compatibility is no longer there. I think if the expectations are set very clearly, it won't be a surprise for them when they hear that they no longer have a place in the company, right? If they are somehow thinking that they are being the hero and they are being the single point of failure that the company cannot do without, then that's a mismatch in alignment, right? So I think having a clear understanding of what the vision is, what their role is, what the expectations are, both the good side and the not so good side. I think that is going to help, and also be able to understand the pulse of the organization, right? Use surveys, regular surveys. In fact, I recommend micro surveys for large organizations, particularly. Do micro surveys, micro pulse surveys every week. Just send one question with just they have to select an emoji or one response, right? That will give you a pulse on what the mood of the organization in general is. Sometimes once a day, once a week, whatever frequency, right? And also, regularly, the manager needs to have this empathy map conversation with the employees, understanding how the mindset of each team member is. And the essence is basically to cultivate emotional intelligence, a sense of safety for rapid experimenting. It's okay to fail, but it's not okay not to try. Right? That kind of expectations and environment need to be created. See, if there is no psychological safety, there will be no dynamism. They will keep doing what they do the best, what they know the best, and nothing more, right? There will be no motivation to try something new because there is no safety to fail. So creating that psychological safety is essential, right? So these are the understanding aspects. And of course, the final aspect, and to me, this is the most important, no matter how wild or how boring things get, certain things must be non-negotiable. They must be table stakes, right? Which is maintaining your core standards, the sense of quality, right? This idea of excellence, the sense of excellence, which is basically, I need to show up as my best self every moment, right? Nothing less. That pursuit of excellence, whether you are able to achieve it at every moment, probably not. We're all humans. We have our own moments of weakness, right? That we won't be proud of, but that's okay. But consciously, we need to have the pursuit of excellence. And as long as that is there, then we quickly kind of come back, right? Even if we falter. So this is crucial. And I have developed a framework for excellence, which I will probably share offline. And I've also created an assessment. It's a 75-question assessment for personal excellence that kind of looks into multiple dimensions, right? How we think, how we do things, how we connect with ourselves and with others, and what our mindset is, and all of that. And think, do, connect, and be framework. I'll share that with you all later. I was hoping that we'll have time to do a walkthrough of that, but in the interest of time, I'll share with you offline. If you find it valuable, most welcome to use it for yourself and for your team. Okay, I'm going to take a quick pause here. I know it's a lot of content in this page, very busy, and the next couple of pages also will be very busy with text. But I would like to take a pause and see if there is any comments or reflection or questions that you have. No, thank you for your
Yeah,
point,
PJ,
Vijay. Thank you.
but
Yeah.
see, the only problem, most of the engineers and engineering companies, the problem is, if you ask for any documentation, no mic will get unmute, right?
Yeah, I know.
So this is full of, documentation. Because
Yeah.
engineers wants to do work, they don't want to record anything. No, that's a problem. All of the small companies will find. I don't know how the
Yeah.
scenario with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. In fact, not just engineering, Vijay, any organization documentation is frowned upon. Process அப்படின்னாலே வந்து they think it's a bad word, right? But that's a different. I think that's probably a topic for another conversation. Why process? See, whether when you do something, you are in a process. The only thing is you are in a good process or bad process. There is no such thing as no process, right? So yeah, it's your choice whether to do good process, which means you write it down, you make it predictable, you make it repeatable, make it easier to understand and simple, or you don't do any of this and make a bad process. But there is no such thing as no process anyway. But the point taken. I think it's also important to write things down. But this page is busy. I understand. I will leave it all of you to read it later, maybe on your own time. But if there is anything that emerges for you, feel free to please jump in. I think the essence of what I wanted to convey, we have covered all of that in the earlier part of the conversation. So I just want to talk a little bit about the benefits, and then one more slide. Probably we'll wrap up with that. See, the benefit is at a strategic level. When we are being deliberate about disruption and introducing deliberate disruptions, we are able to stay ahead of the curve. We are not waiting for VUCA to hit us to respond. We are already creating the muscle to respond to VUCA. We are already creating the muscle to that it's just like vaccine, right? It's we're basically being prepared for the virus if it hits, right? By giving us a smaller dose. Yeah. Just like how we use sun hemp for enriching the soil. I think we have to do that so that we are building the muscle, both strategic and even at the operational level, creating that flexibility and having that readiness for uncontrolled chaos. And most importantly, when it comes to the human excellence aspect, we build the muscle, leadership muscle, right? The constant dynamic equilibrium makes leaders constantly think about what they are doing, why they are doing, and think about their team, right? So we can avoid atrophy, right? See, in search of stability, we cannot go into an atrophy, right? So constantly introducing a small dose of change regularly will build that muscle. And most importantly, again, it also creates a growth mindset, a beginner's mindset within the organization, right? However long you have operated, you've been in the industry, however many years of experience you've gained, right? The moment you stop having that beginner's mindset, you feel stagnated. So you can't innovate. You don't feel alive, right? Because if you have to pick one thing that is at the essence of being alive, okay, what is the difference between being alive and being lifeless? Right? It's not it. The essence is growth, right? Anything that grows is alive. So the moment we stop having the mindset of growth, it's as good as not being alive, right? We will go through the motions of life. That's it, right? We will be in a going by the flow, floating. So very important. When we introduce these deliberate changes, we cultivate this growth mindset. We feed it, right? And another thing from an organizational standpoint is we increase engagement, right? Employees become more engaged. Yeah. So that's another benefit. Now, I also want to talk quickly about the pitfalls. Very important. We can't get too excited about introducing changes, and we can't go berserk about it, right? We cannot be overreacting without enough data, right? And at the same time, it's very important that we cannot introduce too many changes in a way that the team starts thinking, what the hell is wrong with these guys, right? Do they even know what they're doing? Or, too many changes, I'm burned out, I'm struggling. So it's very important that we have the pulse, we understand the pulse of the organization, and we articulate why we are introducing these changes in a way that they buy in, right? It's not just they are following orders, but they have a buy-in, right? And then, another pitfall is, as we do this in all the middle of all this excitement, we forget what the core values are. No, that's a big problem. So, maybe it's a good thing to maintain a physical, if you're a physical office, have one full wall of vision and values board where everybody gets reminded of what the vision and values are, right? If it's virtual, maybe encourage everybody to keep it as the computer background or whatever, right? So it's very important not to forget them, right? Team should not lose confidence. Alignment needs to be maintained, and the other end is being too rigid, right? Please excuse the typo here. It's important to maintain the fluid mindset. I missed the D there. It's not mindset. Learning to operate in the gray. So sometimes, when we are swinging on one side too far, then we end up swinging the other side also, right? It's the nature of the pendulum. So when we get too excited about introducing these changes and suddenly it bites us in the back, and we decide to become too rigid, neither of it is good, right? So we're going to have to swing along the center as much as possible. Okay. I had another question for reflection, but in the interest of time, I guess we'll move on. But please do reflect what other pitfalls you can think of. Please write to me either the WhatsApp group or email. Happy to get on a discussion with you about that. Yeah. So some of the real world examples, Google's 20% time, you probably might know Google had introduced, 20%, asked every employee to spend 20% of their time just doing things outside of their regular, job responsibilities, right? Toyota introduced the Kaizen culture where, they do like rapid innovations, experiments. This is another of Netflix. They basically actually built a tool. It's not even metaphorical. They actually built a tool called Chaos Monkey that will introduce problems in the production system, so that people can innovate, right? So these are some of the real world examples, and of course, there's so many more that happens. But I just wanted to highlight these two. And please think about what is that one thing that you can do, like next week, it's a Sunday, tomorrow, probably one thing that you can do to inject a very small controlled VUCA in your team, right? Please reflect on it for the rest of the day and try injecting one little thing that will rattle the cage a little bit and bring, bring the team alive, right? We bring more excitement to the team. Okay, so I guess this is my last slide. The top takeaway I want you to leave with is complexity is not bad. Use complexity as a tool for understanding the world, not as something that you need to avoid. Okay, make small pivots. Be ready for big changes. Yeah, and when you learn loudly. Right? Make mistakes, let everybody see it, and cultivate an organization where making mistakes once is okay. Repeating the second time is not okay. Right? Mistakes will help us learn, right? And ultimately, be able to be comfortable seeing beyond the obvious, challenging your own assumptions and your own biases. It is the hardest part because you need to be extremely self-critical. Right? You need to question your own thoughts and be comfortable doing that, because that's when you can encourage others to do that also. Your team needs to see you as somebody who is, willing to be flexible to challenge your own thoughts and questions, and create something better out of it. So model the behavior, right? And at the end of the day, values under pressure, right? You stick to your core values even under extreme pressure. That's what drives excellence. Okay, I think I will shut up with that. It's been way too long. I hope you all had a meaningful conversation. I did. There was a lot that I learned and took away from it. Thank you so much, and Gopi sir, over to you, and we'll wrap up here.
Thanks, Prasanna. Thank you very much for that wonderful session. We'll now keep the floor open for question and answers. Participants, you may please unmute and ask your questions, please.
So thanks, Gopi, you come up with such wonderful people every week. Though I could not able to understand, attend some other programs. Apologies for that. But you have been so consistent. My first thanks for you. And PJ, it was one of the awesome presentation. And really we need to imbibe, because the changing worlds need change in strategies constantly. So I always believe, when it is a delta X, it is easy to adopt. When it becomes 10X, we cannot adopt. That's why the organization would collapse. So this one wonderful program has, reflected in 360-degree angle, the kind of agility what is required. Thank you so much. So that's my feedback.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Vijay. Thanks, Vijay.
PJ, I have a question. This is very basic actually. Are all the organizations very crucially and critically focus on timelines? They expect all the work to be done within a click of a finger, like time. They are expecting to be very fast. Is it so?
Not all organizations, absolutely not. See, for example, take Zoho in our own backyard, right? Zoho is, they never raised a single penny from VC funding. There has been no external funding. So if you really look at Zoho's model, they spend, hundreds, if not thousands of employees' time in just random experiments, and there is no time pressure. They take one project, they work on it, and that's how they now have at least dozens of products that they have built, right? So there are companies who play the long game, Vikram, but there are companies who are pressed for time, particularly in today's technology world, when there is all this VC funding, venture capital funding infusing happening, right? So there is very little patience. Okay, so the cycle time between two rounds of funding is on an average about 18 months. Okay, 18 to 24 months, and the earlier investors will want to get an exit as soon as possible. Okay, because they know that only 1% of the companies they're funding will be, will go all the way to IPO, right? So the early stage company investors are pushing for, growth, growth at all cost. So essentially, one thing leads to another. If your business fundamentals, right? If your business fundamentals are shaky, what I mean by that is if you're not focusing on profitability, if you're not focusing on long-term vision, if you're not playing a long game, you will invariably end up, putting yourself under artificial pressure, and it is not sustainable. So the short answer is not all companies are operating in a here and now mindset. There are companies who play the long game, and only those companies who play the long game sustain and become really impactful and bigger.
Yeah, I totally agree with the last part also. Everything is correct. Thanks for bringing the Zoho example. They are just kindling the talent outcome of the employees. So that's why they are playing a long game compared to other organizations like startups. I see a lot of startups raising funds like VCs which were mentioning. So I just want to know whether they are very critical on time. Why? Because it will ruin the outcome that they expect if they expect in shortest time. So
see, all these VC funded companies will go for quick wins and instant gratification only, Vikram, because that's how the game is played. So it's unfortunate, but very few VC funded companies have the vision, long term vision, and they are able to control the board, the external investors, and align them for the long-term vision. Very few can do that, but most of them will play a short game only.
Okay, okay. Thanks a lot. It was a very good presentation till the very end. Actually, I could enjoy a lot of takeaways from your end. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Ramesh Lakshmi Narayanan.
Yeah, thanks, Gopi, and thanks, PJ. It was a wonderful session. One takeaway, what I could see is that normally we are taught, like the values should not change. We should have that values, and then this Netflix example, what you gave, right? Like the code of culture or whatever you said, like the similar, the value also can be, time to time can be changed for better. So that's a, real takeaway for me actually. And then the example what you gave for Mr. Vijay also, the explanation what you gave for Vijay also is wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. PJ.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Ramesh. Okay. Anyone else has a question? Vichu?
The only problem for people like me who run very, very small, like tiny organizations, it's very difficult to actually expect the employees to even sync with what they're not even able to understand. So in a structured organization, it is possible, but in an unstructured, we just have to live with our vision because we are not able to translate to the employees because they are only looking at salaries. I mean, not even salaries, wages. They are saying, okay, tell me what to do, how much you will pay, how much overtime I'll get. They are not even looking at their own growth.
Personal growth, yeah.
They are least interested. Hey, overtime, you do overtime and you'll get more money. They are saying, why? I need to have my biryani and my quarter. What the heck? I mean, you do overtime if you want. In fact, they make me feel that I don't have a vision. Because they're saying, why you are working so hard and earning? I mean, what's the purpose of life? And I have to tell them the only reason I'm working at 63 is to feed you guys, and take care of your families.
No, makes sense.
Yeah, that's what in tiny organizations. Now I am looking at a new business model. I will, having been in manufacturing for 30 years, whereby I empower individuals from tier 3, town cities, make them owners actually, make them co-owners, give them the machine, give them the place, give them the raw material, give them the order, give them the design, and they just have to make. And that way, if I can create entrepreneurs or co-entrepreneurs, so then
see that's your deliberate disruption.
Yeah. Because
case in
the
point,
rules are very, very useless. More than 10 people, you have to have a factory license. So I am trying to contain everything within 10 people. You have 10, I mean, small. What I find these guys lack is actually estimation, design, engineering, marketing. They can't even give a quote. So I do all those things and ensure that they get, and then I take over their pain points like finance, going to the bank, all those things. If I can take, then they are free to manufacture. And if we can help maybe 10, 20 of them to do it, but how do we create because I mean, every individual is different. Every individual mind at the micro level is different and very difficult to bring an organizational transformation, as you mentioned.
It is hard. It is absolutely hard. I mean, the personal values and the organizational values don't always align.
Yeah.
As long as we appreciate the difference and we know what to prioritize when, right?
Yeah.
There may be circumstances where I will have to prioritize my personal values and circumstances. So I think there cannot be, the secret is in this, sir. I think you cannot have a black and white rule, right? As long as you're able to, you're comfortable being fluid and kind of be contextual about your priorities, I think it should be doable. And part of it is we cannot teach this like it has to be practiced and experienced over time to gain the skill. Like there is
Yeah.
no theory, there is no like 10 things you can do to gain this skill type, right? So
Yeah.
it has to be coached.
But one thing I'm surprised is, when we started AABN, the whole idea was our classmates, our colleagues who retired, they will jump into the entrepreneurial bandwagon. To our utter surprise, it's again and again the people already in business and industry, they want more of AABN. The people who choose to retire and stay at home, they are very happy doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I have failed in inculcating, the value of entrepreneurship to my own, classmates and friends. So I'm not surprised that the Bihari or the, Jharkhand fellow who works for me doesn't even understand values like, enterprise and, creating wealth and value and it's no big surprise one way. Yeah, but I still hope some of my friends will join me in this endeavor. Thank you, very nice. But
and PJ and if I can just jump in, I am so curious to respond to Mr. Vishnath. Can I?
Yeah, please go on.
Okay.
Go on.
Yeah. Mr. Vishnath, I happened to come across the company in Delhi called Corit Electric.
Okay.
I was so impressed in seeing their business model. It was so close to what you have explained.
Okay.
This company has only 9 people within the organization. I think they are trying to limit anything less than 10. So
Yeah.
they don't get into the confusion of, the license company,
Correct.
owning all that stuff.
Correct.
What the whole team is doing, they are extremely good in, designing, supply chain management.
Yes.
And then, 100% it is a remote organization, and they are recruiting quality control managers in all the different cities.
Okay.
Make sure the components are made, and there is a supply chain guy and there is a quality guy. Together they have to manage the show.
Yeah.
Okay. And they are able to run the industry so efficiently.
Okay.
And they say that we don't want to own any industry, and we are going to come up with the 10 models. Now the first model has already got approval. Another 8 models are at the pipeline. And their business model is they are not going to own anything at all.
Yeah, I actually took the inspiration from people like Suguna Broilers and our CK Ranganathan, who has this cabin care. See, they have a number of people who do he only owns the brand and,
Exactly.
the network.
Exactly.
So what I'm doing is not anything new. But what I would like to do, I mean, I also want to tell you, I'm a professor in Anna University, professor of practice. So that takes up, I'm supposed to work for 12 days, but I end up working 25 days. So that also takes my time. And I don't have any legacy. I mean, the nobody in my family to continue what I'm doing. So my idea is, if each of these I'll call co-entrepreneurs or whatever it is, they can actually they are free to add more machines, more expand their business, and I can handhold. And probably, if I can, as I told you, maybe if I can create 20 of them, at least 3-4 of them will have my photo when I pass away. So that is the real dream. That is the real fun. And
I think that's a very doable and legitimate legacy that you can leave, because offsprings are not definitely going to look into our business. Okay,
definitely.
I think
that's the idea, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, PJ. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was a fantastic conversation, and thank you so much for the opportunity.